In this demonstration, we'll take a look at how to view the routing tables on a Juniper device. So I've already connected to my Juniper device. I'm on my Boston router where I do have a static route configured. Now to view your routing table, you can use the show command within operational mode of the device itself. So I'm going to use the show, and when I hit the question mark, there's tons of different parameters that we can use to display different characteristics of the device itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the show route command to display the routing table of the device. Now when you take a look at the output of the show route command, there's many different routing tables that exist on Juniper routers. So you can see here that I'm looking at the inet.0 routing table, and this is the IP version 4 routing table. There's other routing tables such as the IP version 6 routing table as well. But because I haven't configured that protocol, I'm not seeing that routing table. So I can see that this routing table has 4 destinations or 4 routes inside of it. Now those 4 routes, 4 of those are active, which means they are currently enabled or they're available for use. So that's very important. Now you can see which ones are the active routes by the ones with the plus sign beside them. Now you'll notice that I don't really have any with the plus sign beside them, but I do have ones with these asterisks here. So a plus sign means active route. A minus sign means it's the last active route, whereas an asterisk means it's both the active route and the last active route. So each of these routes are the active route or an active route, and also they are the last active route as well. So that's what the asterisk is there. Now when looking at the routing table output, you can see over here on the left, we can see the network IDs. So there's a network that I can reach, which is the 11.0.0.0 network. /8 is our CIDR notation for the subnet mask. So the network ID portion is the first octet, while the remaining are the host ID. So I know that's the 11 network. Now over to the far right here, we can see the type of router or how the router gained the knowledge of this route. And I can see here that the 11 network is a static route, which means the administrator has configured manually the device for this route. So I had to manually input the static route. We can see how long that route's been alive, right, or up and running. And then also you can kind of see the pathway here. So we got a static route to the 11 network. And what we'll do is we'll have to forward the information over to the 12.0.0.1 IP address out the fast Ethernet 0/0/0 port on this router. So this router will send the traffic out that fast Ethernet port over to 12.0.0.1 so that 12.0.0.1 device could then forward the traffic over to 11.0.0.0. So this is kind of our next hop parameter here that we're seeing. So where does my router send the data? Oh, it's going to send it over to 12.0.0.1. We can also see other entries here. So for instance, I can see there is a 12.0.0.0 entry, and this entry is not a static route. It's here because I'm directly connected to that network. So I actually have my fast Ethernet port is using an address on the 12 network, and I'm connected to the 12 network. So that's a direct pathway. Here, this value here, the /0 or the /5, is what we call a preference value. So if your router receives knowledge of a route multiple ways, it'll use the lowest preference value. So for instance, if my router knew about the 12 network because it was directly connected to it, and it knew about the 12 network because I, as the administrator, had coded it into the router, I had configured the 12 network, then there'd be a /5 there. So there's 2 different ways that potentially my router may know about that 12 network. It'll use the entry with the lowest preference value in this case, which would be a directly connected one, right? So that's kind of what the purpose of our preference value is, which route will become the active route when there are multiple pathways to the same destination. So that's the idea of the show route command. Now there's some other options on show route that I want to mention. So there is a show route terse. What that'll allow me to do is it'll allow me to see the information in more of a table format, right? So I can see here that we do have an active route. So there's the asterisk. The destination is the 11 network. I can see all the same things as far as the type of route. So it is a static route versus a directly connected versus a locally available route that was kind of built in. And then over to the right, you can see the next hop. So where does my router need to send traffic to reach the 11 network? Oh, it needs to send the traffic over to 12.0.0.1. So that's the terse parameters. That's a way to look at your routing information. If you just want to see the summary information from your routing table, I can use the show route summary. And that just kind of gives you the summary information at the top of the show route command, where it showed me, what routing table I was looking at and things like my destinations and routes. So that's important. And then the opposite of summary is details. So show route detail. I want to mention this guy. When I use show route detail, I get a little bit more information and just some things that kind of stand out here. So again, notice the routing table I'm looking at is the IPv4 routing table. There's 4 destinations or 4 routes. Here's my first route, and notice that I'm getting a lot more information about this first route, right? So I can see this, the preference value is 5 here. This is interesting. The next hop type is a router. So to reach the 11 network, I got to send the data over to a router, and the next hop actually is the 12.0.0.1, right? So that's get a little bit more information there as far as what the type of device is that our next hop is. Whereas look at this 12.0.0.0. Remember, this is the guy that I'm directly connected to. So to reach the 12.0.0.0, my next hop is not another router. My next hop is I just send data out the interface of fast Ethernet 0/0/0. So that's kind of interesting. So in this demonstration, we took a look at how to view the routing table on a Juniper device.